At the end of this video, we'll take a look at Mad Ramp's innovative pivoting ramp system, the safer, easier way to transport your ATVs and snowmobiles. Stick around. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The Bridge Street Garage Racing Team, the house racing team of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bearbrook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And lastly, if you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here tonight. If you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know whether or not you can see me and hear me, and let me know where you're viewing this from. Also, let me know whether you're a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. Now, to our first-time viewers, thank you so much for coming on to check us out. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy it and decide to join us here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. To our regular viewers, thank you so much for being a part of this each and every week. You guys are the ones that make this possible, because if I didn't have a regular following with this, I would lose interest and just stop doing it. So you guys are the ones making this possible. I thank you so much for that. We're going to take a couple of quick comments, and we're going to get right into the program. We have a live guest waiting for us, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. But let's take a couple of quick comments first. We've got Robert Longshore. He's saying it's awesome and he loves it. Well, thank you so much, Robert, for coming on. We appreciate the compliment. John Spranger Jr., regular viewer from Eland, Wisconsin. Thank you, John, for coming on. We appreciate it. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my interface here. Nick Kafa is regular viewer from Shelby Township, Michigan. Nice to see you again, Nick. We have Rick and Katrina Dumont, says loud and clear. Thank you so much. And we have Brian Van Heverbeek. I was just messaging him with earlier today. He says he can hear us loud and proud from Mount Bridges, Ontario. He's a regular viewer, and he's going to be coming on in early January to show us his Arctic Cat Kitty Cat collection, and I cannot wait to get into that. And we've got, I'm going to do just a few more here, and then we're going to get into our live guest because we do have someone waiting for us. We have John Graber, says he can see and hear us from Clear Lake, Michigan. Thank you so much. Our good friend Jim Layton says, sounds great. And he's in Northern Maine, and he's here again. He's a regular viewer, and he's also been a guest on this program 3 times. One more, and we're going to get right into the program, but I'll continue to pop these comments up on the screen as we're talking to our guest, but I don't want to keep him waiting for a real long time. We've got Robert Longshore from St. Cloud, Florida. I probably don't have any snow down there, at least not enough for snowmobiling, but I have a feeling you probably used to live up north and probably down there taking it easy with a Mai Tai or something, and I can't say I blame you. So let's switch screens. This is what we have on tap for you tonight. We've got Midge Rosebrook, who I'm going to be bringing on here in a moment. I'm going to give him a proper introduction here in just a moment. But before we do, I wanted to call your attention to item number 2. If you were here 2 weeks ago, you were here for the open line show and tell segment of the program. And during that segment of the program, I paste a link into the comment section and invite people to come on for some live show and tell. And I'm going to show you the guidelines for that. We'd love to have you come on, but I do ask that you have something vintage snowmobile related for show and tell. It can be sleds or trophies or artifacts, old snowmobile clothing from back in the day. Number 2, we'd like you to hold your camera horizontal for a wide shot. Number 3, the obvious stuff, keep it clean, no nudity, profanity, etc. Number 4, it's okay if you're selling something, but it does have to be related to vintage snowmobiles. Number 5, please keep it positive, no bashing of people, businesses, etc. So, without further ado, let me get back into the right graphic here. Going to introduce you to our guest. Now, this is Midge Rosebrook. If you are a regular viewer of this podcast, this is someone who is not going to be a stranger to you. He's been on here many times, just not live. We've had videos with him, and he is the founder of the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Now, 5 years ago, the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame was just an idea that woke him up in the middle of the night. And fast forward 5 years to now, this is a thriving organization that is very busy and very active, honoring those racers, those Eastern racers from yesteryear that we all love. So let's bring him on. And Midge, how are you tonight?
Good evening. Good evening, Mike. Good evening, everybody.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you on.
Thank you. I was talking to Mike earlier before we went on the air. It's usually past my bedtime, but I'll tell you what. If Mike LaPierre wants me to stay up at 9 or 10 o'clock at night to do a podcast, this guy is going to do it. So Mike has gone above and beyond for us, and it's just a small thing that I can do for him.
Wonderful. And back at you. We appreciate everything you do with the Hall of Fame. It's been a wonderful collaboration. And it's just, even just taking what I get out of it personally, it's just a wonderful way to honor and celebrate all of those wonderful racers of yesteryear that we all love. And it's something that I'm happy to contribute to and to do what I can to help the advancement of it.
Yeah. We've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's a good thing that we're recognizing the people of the past that we used to watch race years ago, in what I like to call the golden era of snowmobile racing in the 70s and the early 80s, 60s, 70s. And
sure.
They're the guys that got it done. They're the guys that we stood out in the cold watching for years. And it's just a great pleasure to be able to get those guys recognized, the top drivers of the sport, the top promoters of the sport. And I can't wait to next year. We're going to give the introduction of 5 more great drivers and promoters after the first of the year for 2022.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
When you're ready to do that, I'd love to have you on to do the announcements here on the channel.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, this past September, we had an induction ceremony that was very well attended and everyone had a really good time. What can you tell us about some of the highlights of that?
The highlights of it, I was starstruck, to tell you the truth.
As was I.
Yeah. Bill Abel, I mean, legendary. He's a pure genius, and he's still with us, which is great. He's in his 80s and he's still doing very well. He and his wife Kathy, top shelf. I mean, just the nicest people in the world. His whole family. They pulled in those big motorhomes, and I mean, I tell you, I was on cloud nine the whole time. And
I agree.
even,
'Cause over the years, I've heard so much about him, and I didn't know what he looked
yeah.
like. And I remember when I got there, I went up to you and I said, "Is Bill here?" And you pointed over and said, "Yeah, the guy in the vertical stripes." And it's like, wow, Bill Label.
Legendary.
Yeah, for sure. The man, the myth,
You
the
don't have to
legend.
be an Art of Cat person to recognize greatness. I mean,
Sure.
I'm
It
a
does help,
Polaris
though.
guy. You even see you being more of a cat guy. It's probably it's like me with Bob Beastman years ago.
Yeah, very similar.
Same
Yeah,
type thing. They walk on water.
yeah,
They don't. Their feet don't even get wet, dude. I'm
that's
telling
true. Hover,
you,
they hover.
it's crazy what he did with that team.
Yeah,
And Chip Elwood,
Mhm.
one of the greatest drivers, and Herb Yancey was there. The whole team was there.
Yeah, that's impressive.
All three. Ron Hall. Ron's record and Herb's record. It's just crazy, their records.
Yeah,
What
he had
they
some of the
did.
most talented drivers in the sport.
The biggest
And
talents in the sport all race
yeah,
for the same team. It's just,
that's amazing.
yeah.
And then to top that off, on a personal level, they're all very close friends, almost a family, and they're still apparently they still get together once or
Yeah.
twice a year today as kind of like a family and have a barbecue
Yeah.
or some
Yeah.
sort of a gathering. And they're
I think they don't get to. I think though, Bruce Beauregard's told me that this is the first time that they were all together at once.
wow.
I mean, they might gather like that. There might be two of them, or there might be like either way, but never the four
Yeah.
of the original team. This was the first time that the original team was totally together in one spot for like 40 years, I guess.
Wow.
At Cranes. So
That's
we
cool.
got some photos of them and standing beside the Kilkenny Cup because Herb is on the Kilkenny Cup. Ron's on the Kilkenny Cup. And so, yeah, it was a great day. And then Diane Baker,
Yes.
great lady racer. She was just a hardly a tick under Judy Rinaldi. Judy, of course, has the biggest record for World Series wins, but Diane had a lot of women races of the year, trophies, and she won a World Series, and she had many moments too.
Sure.
So we were glad to get Diane on there, and I met Jerry, who's a great guy, and yeah, he's the one really that helped her with her sleds and things like that, and you could see that it was a family affair for them,
For sure.
And
Interesting coincidence. I'm going to cut you off for just 1 second.
yeah,
I'm starting to pop up some of the comments that are coming in to get caught up on those. We have
Baker
Diane
Racing, I
Baker.
see that. Yeah,
Yeah, she's watching
yeah,
tonight. Hello, Diane, good friend of ours.
yeah.
Outstanding. And I'll continue to pop these comments up, and I'll ask the viewers if you have comments or questions for Midge while we've got him live here. Please pose those questions or comments in the post those in the comment section, and we'll run them by him. And in a moment, we're going to show an induction that happened from the September ceremony. But and Michael Carvela, who came on live a couple of weeks ago, he's saying the snow is starting to stick over there. But please continue your thought, Midge.
Yeah. No, just to continue on, we had Steve Fenoff from St. Johnsbury, a local guy. I watched Steve clean house in the 340 class at the 1971 Grand Prix. Like I said at the induction, Bob Fortin had won the 295 and the 340 class everywhere he went with those little Elans and in his big singles. He was cleaning house everywhere he went. So it was just a natural notion that he would probably win both classes at his own home track. It was almost a given. But nobody told Steve Fenoff, and he came out of the blue with that Arctic Cat and cleaned everybody's clock in the 340 class. Local guy from St. Johnsbury went in the Kilkenny Cup. I mean, that's a story in itself.
Sure. So,
and then, of course, we had Bob Bottoms, the late Bob Bottoms. What can you say about Bob? He got the thing, he actually got the whole thing rolling by bringing the Bombardier Skidoo into the United States back in 1959. He didn't know whether that thing was going to sell or not. I mean, I think the price tag was something like $950. Well, $950 in 1959.
Yeah,
you could buy a brand new pickup for $1,000 back then.
Sure.
So
that was a pivotal moment for the snowmobile.
Yeah, it ended up he couldn't sell the first one. He ended up trading it for a woodlot.
Wow.
Red Parks in town of Lancaster had a woodlot out east, and he says, "Oh, I'll take it off your hands if you want to take my woodlot." Sure. So he made a trade for a woodlot. So that's how the first Skidoo got sold.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's wild, because it did catch on right away. I imagine people weren't quite sure what to make of it, but I think once people saw other people riding around on them, that was
once you got a couple down in the field. Once you saw how much fun it was. Yeah. And J. Armand Bombardier originally built that for trapping and large logging operations. He built it to replace the sled dog for trappers and things. I don't think he even saw the recreational aspect of it, but it certainly it became a recreational sport. I mean, so trappers did use it back in the early going, but it became one of the biggest, fastest recreational sports in America.
Yeah. So, by the early 70s, it had exploded across the snowmobile.
Everybody had at least 2 or 3 in their driveway. Yeah. Every family had 2 or 3 sleds. Yeah. Yeah. So I think at the time, back in the early 70s, I think Timberland Machines was peddling like 10,000 Skidoos out of that warehouse every year.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's an amazing amount.
Yeah.
So so Bob Bottoms, and that did we cover the 5?
I think we did, and in the interest of time, I've got the Bill Abold clips lined up. So there's 3 clips. I have a minimum of 5 minutes per clip, so I've got 3 clips. The first one is you inducting him. Any quick comments on that before I roll that clip?
Just to reiterate, how I don't know how I got through with him standing there beside me. I mean, it was like a out of the body experience, if you will. It was just
I
crazy.
agree. I was starstruck with him as well.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to interview him myself one-on-one in his motorhome, and I was starstruck with that as well.
Amazing man.
And I'll play that clip in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But let's roll that clip of you inducting him.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Bill Abold, please. Abold, I made a mistake already. And Mrs. Abold, please come on. Yeah. I don't think he would have done what he did without your help. So that's a fact, right? All right. I usually have him seated when we read this, but what the heck? You guys want to see Bill Abold? This is a good way to see him right here. William Bill Abold, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2021. Engine, chassis builder, team owner. Bill Abold began winning with Rupp snowmobiles in 1973 with driver Ron Hall. Team Abold is the only race team in history to win 3 Adirondack Cups. Ron Hall on a Rupp in 73, Ron Hall on an Arctic Cat in 75. Ron Hall is the only guy that ever won it twice. And then Herb Yancey won it on an Arctic Cat in 1978. I think that was an IFS. That was the first IFS. Bill's engine and chassis building prowess was never more evident than when Team Abold driver Wayne Chip Elwood stricken with the flu, invited independent driver Herb Yancey to race his Mod 4 sled at the 1974 Snowmobile World Series in Eagle River, Wisconsin. Elwood's Cat, arguably the fastest 650 in the country, helped to provide him with the advantage he needed as Yancey became the first non-factory driver in history to win a snow pro race. Team Able opened the 1975 season by sweeping all 4 Supermod classes, with the newest Team Able member Herb Yancey capturing the Governor's Cup at Canaan, New Hampshire in December 1974. Herb Yancey also won the 440 class while racing in the PDC Series professional driver circuit, both days at Peterborough, Ontario in 1975. Ron Hall won his 17th consecutive race in the Supermod 1 class, taking home a Kilkenny Cup at the 1975 Lancaster Grand Prix and becoming the USA SSA Eastern Division Driver of the Year for 1975. For the 1976 season, Ron Hall wore gold bib number 1, Herb Yancey wore number 2, and Chip Elwood wore number 11, even after a horrific injury halfway through the season in 1975. Team Able was one of a handful of teams chosen to race Ardic's new IFS Z-Bar suspension system in 1978. Herb Yancey was voted Driver of the Year at the 1978 Snowmobile World Series in Rough Yellowstone, Montana, driving this new sled. Team Able has won 8 World Series number 1 place titles, plus 13 top 5 finishes, with 3 different drivers in 6 consecutive Snowmobile World Series between 1974 and 1979. From 1973 until 1980, Team Able drivers Pat Able, Chip Elwood, Ron Hall, Dave Heitzoaks, Ray Resnick, and Herb Yancey won more Eastern titles and championships than any other Eastern snowmobile race team in the history of the sport, thanks to their superb talents and the amazing talents of the one and only Bill Bold. This guy is a legend, folks. An absolute legend for all of us. And there's one on the wall just like that.
Yeah, how cool was that?
Yeah, that was cool. One thing I noticed is how he was patting his wife's shoulder all the time I was talking there. And, I mean, you could tell it was just a proud moment for that guy.
Yeah,
and rightly
sure.
so. Rightly so. And I am so tickled to be the guy to do it. I mean,
for sure.
Oh, it's just amazing.
The list of accomplishments is just unbelievable.
You could tell they're a team. He and his wife, it wasn't easy for them. He probably burned the midnight oil more than just about anybody to be able to stay ahead of the game like he did.
Yeah, to be on top of that.
How often would he drag in at 2:00 in the morning, working out in the shop, and his wife supported that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Just
that could put a strain on
the wives really need to be. They're the unsung heroes in this whole thing.
For sure, because if they're not on board with it, it's not not sustainable.
No, and you could tell she's just as proud as he was there.
Sure. And we're going to see even more of that here right now, because now we've got him accepting the award and giving a speech. So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what to say. I had a little speech I was going to give. Everything that I had in my speech kind of blew my speech. Yes. Not really. I think I can win it. Okay. Everybody here, I want to congratulate and I want to thank you for coming. I just never realized, all the times that I spoke at different events and so on, what a great group you got. I mean, you guys work so hard, and I definitely want to give everybody a lot of thanks. After many phone calls, I got a lot of information, but the most information I got was sitting right here today. Everybody could enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it. You'd have the whole parking lot full of people. But you got a pretty good group today. I come from a long history of racing, that's for sure. You can tell by my looks. We've had a racing family since we started. And part of our family had a group that Midge was talking about. Our whole race team was a team. And the team was very, very important to us. And I'll tell you, I myself enjoyed every minute of the races. All the people we met, a lot of them here today, was impressive. But one of the most things that I respected and I learned a lot about was the induction when Bruce called me that I was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. I was both excited and humbled to be a candidate. I was also very impressed with the history of the group of the special people that have already been indicted. Indicted. Yeah, don't talk to me. I would like to thank 3 special people that I worked close with. I didn't know the rest of them. 2 good would be Bruce, Rick, and Ed. These guys both talked to me several times and so on, and it was a pleasure. Thank you. Team Able was fishing sleds about 5 years before the Arctic sponsorship. I started drag racing Scorpions in the summer of '69 and went to Rupp in '72. Rupp, New York was impressed and asked me to build a winter sled. One of the salesmen from Rupp, Fred Ives, asked me to call Ron Hall and ask him if he'd drive. And that's when Team Able got started. I think Ron was the first of our team to win the Grand Prix in Lancaster. He won the Bluebell Cup that year and the Northeastern Championship at Malone, and he ran with the Rupp. When I got the first Arctic sponsor from Miro, they asked me to contact Chuck Colwood. Now these guys become my personal friends. Yeah, they're like all family. To run the 440 and the 650 sleds. Now I had 8 sleds and 2 top drivers. Ron and Chip began to set records right away. After that, we won several races that Team Arctic was at. One in particular was the Weeksburg 50-lap championship. Chip set a track record that lasted 20 years. Ronnie, he won the 50-lapper with 4 laps in the lead. That was impressive. I couldn't get over it. We all went to dinner later, and Arctic came to and got me on the back, and I said, well, the first thing they said that kind of got me mad is, you should have Ronnie Hall to get on an exercise deal. And I thought to myself, 50 laps, 4 laps in the lead, you might better practice what you preach. Yeah. I didn't have a lot of couth in those days. Ron beat Arctic Factory and won by 4 laps, I said. We then were asked to run Eagle River Championship. Chip got the flu, and I asked Herb Yancey to run the Team 650. After his victory, I asked Chip if he would like to run the race team. Or Herb, I'm sorry. And that's, I'm sorry. At Bangor, Maine, this left Herb and Ron to fight the battles. Some of their victories included 5 Snow Pro Series circuit wins, 8 World Series titles, 3 Adirondack Cups, 2 Eastern Championships, and several Drivers of the Year awards, and I can't remember them all, so forgive me. At 16 years old, my oldest son Pat jumped from the junior class to senior class. He was the youngest to ever qualify at Eagle River for the World Championship. He raced for 4 years before that, and by that time he became a pretty seasoned driver. He took a 2nd place at 75 Wheatsport World Series and won both classes in the Malone Northeast Championships that year. He was ranked top 5 in the 340 class. I would also like to recognize 2 of the people that diligently worked on the sleds and kept everything in the tip-top condition at all times. Al Conklin and Charlie Hemans. They were my tech guys. And they not only did they work many hours on the sleds, they also stayed many hours in that old school bus that we used to drive to the races. The dedication of the team, and I want to emphasize that word team, has produced many wins and championships. Thank you. Special thanks to my family for all the times that they've been with me. And along with that, they always stayed, they always helped. I will cherish this day, and I'll just cherish it forever. Thank you, everybody, that made this day possible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that was amazing.
Yeah.
And,
No, it brings it all back, and to have, Bill Ball, the things that he did throughout his career, to say that he cherishes that moment forever, it just means something to these people.
It's true, because with a career like his, he's had so many moments of quote unquote glory, and that he really appreciated being at our event.
This caps it off.
It does.
This caps it off. This tells everybody for in the future generations that these were the best of the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
The Hall of Fame, you can't get any higher than the Hall of Fame.
True.
That's why they have a Hall of Fame for baseball. That's why they have a Hall of Fame for basketball. It's to recognize the top people of the sport, of any sport, for the future generations, and that's what we're up to here.
Yeah, and that certainly was what happened.
It's way overdue, Mike. It's way overdue.
Sure. Now, I've got a little bit more I'd like to do about Bill Abold, but before we do, I just want to recognize we've got Dominic standing by for our next segment. He's going to be part of the open line show and tell segment. I just want him to know that we see that he's waiting here, and hopefully he's just enjoying listening to all of this. But we will get to hear Dominic in just a few minutes. But I've got the clip of the interview that I did with Bill, and you'll see in the clip he he pays another nice compliment to the Hall of Fame. But before we roll that clip, I wanted to ask you a question. If I understand correctly, and this is something I'd like you to confirm for me, he was what, a regional distributor for Arctic Cat back in the day? Do I understand that correctly? Am I close with that?
Abel was I think he was the racing team for a distributor.
Okay.
I think he did. I think
Was it Nero or something?
He headed up the team for a distributor, and I can't remember the name. Bruce would know
I think
the
it was
name.
Nero, wasn't it?
Nero.
Nero, I think. Yeah, Nero.
Yeah, he did that for Nero distributors who distributed Arctic Cat.
Gotcha. Okay.
I believe. I could be wrong, but
Sure.
If because Bruce is probably in bed right now. He said he's probably not going to be able to stay up for this.
Well, Bruce is actually watching, and here we
He
go.
is.
In fact,
Well,
he
there
made a
you go.
compliment.
There's Bruce.
He said, "Great individual," and referenced the team.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And we've got a couple other comments I'll pop real quick before we roll that clip.
Bruce could tell you who that guy, who the distributor was.
Sure. Well, let's roll that clip while we're waiting for a comment from Bruce on that. This is the interview that I did with Bill. I managed to catch him in his motorhome for a few minutes for an interview. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Bill Abold. I started Team Abold back in 1969. We had Herb Yancey and Ron Hall, Chip Elwood as drivers, which was very fortunate for me. And in the consequence, most of them have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And this year, Bruce called me, invited me, which I was very excited to come down. And I think we'll be coming down in the future. It's a much larger, much more professional group than I had envisioned. So I'm just tickled and happy, and want to thank everybody for the hard work that they do to keep the Snowmobile Hall of Fame going.
Wonderful, thank you. And then as far as thinking back about yesteryear, is there any memories that come to mind, some favorite memories that you had with the teammates or things that might have happened?
Oh, we had hundreds of those. Probably the 50 lap at Wheatsport. Nordic Factory was there and put a big splash on, and we went down and we had 2 sleds in that race. And Ronnie won by 4 laps, and Herbie was running second with Ronnie when the cylinder broke right off at the base. So put him out. But that was pretty neat to win that 50 laps by 4 laps.
Yeah.
In the league. That's probably one of the best or the most memorable races that we had.
Sure.
They had many wins and many records.
Yeah. And I'm a fellow Cat fan, so I wanted to see what your thoughts were, remembering the Cat, Arctic Cat as a brand over those years. Any thoughts about Cat?
Oh, I think Arctic Cat they had it together for years. I happened to come in kind of at the end of when the snowmobiles started to wind down. In '73, we used to go to the races with a school bus. And I used to take 55 gallons of gas in the back, and we'd siphon it in because you couldn't buy gas.
Wow.
5 gallons was the maximum you could buy in the stations. But no, Arctic Cat is when you become an Arctic Cat fan and then a team person, Arctic Cat is got to be number one.
Yeah.
They were a very large company at that time, and they built products like a couple of the other manufacturers. They're still there, out running today.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm a very good fan of Arctic Enterprises.
Then and now, still very loyal.
Still very loyal.
Wonderful. I see you've got the badges on your hat. I wonder if you could turn your head to the left just a second, or turn this way a little bit. I want to get a shot of those. And what's that purple one? Is that the Cat is here again? Oh, you can count on the Cat. Yeah. Excellent. Well, great.
Well,
yeah.
it's funny. This hat is from 1976.
76, that hat.
That hat is. And Kathy was going through some of the old memorabilia, and there it was, still sitting on top of the pile. So she said, "You ought to wear that."
Absolutely. Good. I'm glad you did.
We did our best for 8 years trying to keep Cat on top.
Yeah.
And I think we succeeded pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. Good deal. Well, it was really nice to meet you, Bill.
And the team
Go ahead, yeah. Go ahead.
that we were with, or that I formed, have turned out to be best friends. We get together at least once a year just before Christmas, and they're our best friends.
That's amazing. The camaraderie was really powerful.
Yeah.
Then and now.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's not always the case.
No, our team stuck together over 20-some years.
That's amazing. Cool deal. Well, good. Yeah, it was very nice to meet you, Bill. I appreciate the interview.
Well, I appreciate you asking.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Now, we do
The
have
only
an
thing
answer
lacking there for that
Right.
guy is a phone booth
Yes.
and that Superman costume.
Change and open the Superman cape. Yes, absolutely. Now we do have some answers here from Bruce. Let's take a look at what Bruce has to say, and then we're going to wrap up this segment here and move on to the show and tell. But Bruce says no, he was the distributor team.
Yeah.
And then he's got some more detail here. He says Nero Equipment from Canandaigua, New York. The owner was Bob Schwartz.
Yes,
They were the distributor for the Northeast U.S.
Yeah, that's what I said. He was the race team for that distributor.
So he was in charge of the race team for them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that puts it all together for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, yeah, I thank you so much, Midge, for coming on tonight. Any final thoughts for our viewers before we move on? Or
yeah, no, I enjoyed this, and yeah, we can do it again. Maybe not every week, and you probably don't want me on every week, but occasionally.
Sure, but I would like you to be a regular on here every now and then.
We'll
for
just
sure.
pop in. Yeah.
Yeah. And anytime you have something to report about the Hall of Fame, for instance, the inductees, and also you have a wealth of stories of racing and so forth from yesteryear that are always great to hear.
Yeah, I like to put a little story in with a photo once in a while on our Hall of Fame page, and it seems to work out pretty well.
Yes, yeah, those are nice. Those are really nice.
Yeah.
In fact, I encourage people to search on Facebook for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. They have an excellent group with all sorts of anecdotes and information about racing from the past. If you enjoy racing of yesteryear, especially from the East, that's where it's all documented and celebrated.
Also, before I go, Paul Crane is going to have a snowmobile show on February. Was it February 5th? Was it?
Yeah, the first Saturday. Let me look at my calendar here.
February 5th, I believe.
Yeah, the 5th is the first Saturday.
Yes. So he is going to have a snowmobile show at the museum. It's going to be, I think it's always a free of charge deal. You just bring your sleds in. He passes out trophies, and it's just a donation only deal. That's how it's always been. And you guys will be able to get to see the Hall of Fame wall and look at all the people that we've inducted so far. And,
yeah, there's a lot there to see between the exhibitors that show up, and then you go in the museum and there's over 100 sleds in there. And like you said, there's a corner of the museum devoted to the Hall of Fame. There's just so much to see. So if you're in northern New England, it's worth the trip to Lancaster on February 5th to check that out. It's a Crane Snowmobile Museum, by the way.
And Michael, probably you'll be there and I'll be there.
Oh, yes.
And, so.
Unless I've been hit by a truck or something,
I
won't miss it. I never miss that show.
I'm a small target, but still, All right.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Midge, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Great deal, Mike.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Good night.
Good night. All right, well, that was a lot of fun. Really appreciate Midge coming on. I've been trying to get him on for quite a while. We had a couple of technical issues to work out, but we did that yesterday, so we were able to have him on tonight, and I really appreciate him doing so. So now we are moving on to the open line show and tell segment of the podcast, and I've just posted a link, an invitation link, for people to come on. I've got Dominic waiting, so he's going to go first. There are a few guidelines, though, if you're planning to come on, and here they are. It has to be related to vintage snowmobiles. Got to hold the camera horizontal for a wide shot. Keep it clean. It's okay to sell, but it's got to be related to vintage, and keep it positive. No bashing of people, businesses, etc. So let me get into the right screen here. We're going to bring Dominic on, and Dominic, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, my pleasure. It's really nice to meet you.
Great.
Cool.
I appreciate the show, and I appreciate you having me. And you always have great stories. I've read the name Bill Aball before, but that was the first time I actually been able to put a face to that name. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed that. Cool deal. Now do I understand you're in Michigan?
I am in Michigan. I actually used to be out on the east side with you guys. I lived in Kittery, Maine when I was stationed out there, so I've done quite a bit of snowmobiling in New Hampshire. I loved the Bear Notch. That was one of my favorite spots to go ride, especially on the older sleds, because there was always a lot of traffic there. If you broke down, you had somebody who could tow you down the hill. For sure.
Now, those images you sent me earlier today, I've got them ready to put on the screen. I understand you've got some snowmobiles for sale. Can I put these images on the screen and you can talk them up, what we're looking at?
Sure, absolutely.
Cool. Whoops,
So this is it's a 93 Yamaha Exciter SX. These were a 1-year machine. They just made them in 93. They were rated at 93 horsepower, so a little bit more performance than your standard Exciter. It doesn't run the sled. The sleds that I'm selling right now are project sleds. I'm just trying to thin the herd some.
Sure.
It does need some carb work. And then as I was loading it on the trailer today to go to a swap meet this weekend, I broke something in the steering. So the skis are kind of floating on their own right now.
Sure.
As you can see in the picture, it definitely needs a seat. That's pretty rough. But other than that, the rest of it, it's all there. It does have a racing pipe, a Bender racing pipe on it. And I know that there are some people that are really into the SX Exciters. So I'm going to have this sled and the next one you're going to show at a swap meet in Flint, Michigan this weekend, if anybody's interested. And there's a flyer for it.
I popped a graphic up. So if anybody in the Midwest is wondering what they can do this weekend related to snowmobiles, vintage snowmobiles, that's the place to be. And then I'm going to pop an image here of the other sled that you had.
Yeah, so this is, I believe it's a 73 Northway. This one is, I think they were all powered by CCW. This one has a 400 cc. It is a wide track sled. I had it running over the summer, and when I did have it running, the drive cogs, they tore out pretty much, being old and brittle. And then since when I got it back out today to load on the trailer, it doesn't have spark anymore. So this definitely, like I said, both the sleds are projects.
Sure.
But these are fun. I had a narrow track Northway, and I just think they're really interesting machines. The way the hood opens up, and they're just unique. There weren't many of them made either.
For sure, yeah, very unique. How were they to drive? I've seen them, but I've never driven one. How were they to drive?
So I haven't rolled this one, and I kind of wish I was able to see how the wide track felt. I'll be honest with you, the narrow track one that I had, Bare Notch was one of the spots where I rode it. It would get stuck.
Sure.
But other than that, it was a bogey wheel. It'd feel pretty much like riding on a Skidoo Olympic from the same era.
Sure, similar feel, similar handling.
And in fact, I think the tracks were the same as most of Skidoos. The patterns look the exact same on them.
Nice. And then for anyone who's curious about contacting you about these, they can either hook up with you at the show in Flint, or I'll put the number on the screen here one more time, 757-912-2865.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully people come out to the Flint show, not just for the swap meet part, but they're also going to have a show there. And I know that the Lions Club, they're trying to raise money for the hearing and visual impaired.
Oh, wonderful. So there's some good causes there that are involved with that. Outstanding. And I apologize. I'm not familiar with the lay of the land in Michigan. What is Flint close to? Is that close to Detroit, or what is that close to?
It's a little north of Detroit. I'm sure you've seen Michiganders show the map.
Yes.
So it's a hand, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of mid-Michigan. I'd say an hour from Detroit if you're in the Thumb area, roughly an hour. Midland, Saginaw is just to drop down from there.
Nice.
It's very close to where the A1 show is, the big A1 show that Michigan has.
Sure. Good deal. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Or?
No, I look forward to maybe doing this again when the snow flies. I'll get out some of the rest of the fleet and show some of those off. I don't have any trailer queens or anything like that. I have stuff that I ride and stuff I work on and fun stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I would love that. Once you get some snow on the ground, if you get some yard riding going on, maybe have someone hold the camera and do some drive-bys.
There you go.
do keep me in mind for that. And I'd like to try to do this open line show and tell thing every episode if I possibly can, if I can generate some interest for it. So at the beginning of the program, if you're not sure whether or not that's happening, just put a comment in there and say, "Are you doing open line tonight?" And then I'll respond to it and answer, and I'll post a link in the description so that you can be ready. And I usually do the open line around 9:30, 9:35 or so. But yeah, I would love, once you get some snow on the ground, I would love to do that. And I want to check a couple of quick comments in case anyone's asking about that, about those sleds. Or Yeah. Okay. Well, Jim Goccione is saying this is awesome. We thank you for that compliment. And also, Casey Hage is saying, I'm going to pick up a 72 Articat Cheetah 340 on Saturday. That is cool. In fact, the 72 Cheetah is the whole reason I'm doing this. When I was a kid, my father bought a 72 Cheetah 440, and that was it. That's the whole reason I've got this bug about vintage snowmobiles and everything. So, if Casey, once you get that Cheetah, I would love to see that, whether it's an image that you're sending to me, or if you'd like to come on live like this for some show and tell. Please consider that, Casey. We would love to feature that somehow on the podcast. But yeah, thank you so much, Dominic, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And yeah, do come on sometime when you get some snow on the ground and do some drive-bys.
That sounds good.
All righty. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. All right. Well, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. And this is what I've been hoping to do with this podcast this whole time, is to get it so this is a way for everyone who enjoys vintage snowmobiles to get to know each other and engage with each other and visit with each other and see what the others are doing. And this, I'm really pleased to see this sort of thing happening, with the live guests we bring on, like Midge and the other live guests we bring on the show, as well as, with this open line thing. It's kind of taking a chance to post a link out there for people to click on and come on live. You don't know what you're going to get, but I have to compliment the viewers of this podcast for being really positive, coming on and bring a positive vibe on and doing things that are related to vintage snowmobiles. Casey says, yes, Casey says, once it's cleaned up and it's barn fresh. Absolutely. We will look forward to that, Casey. I appreciate your considering us on that. Now let's switch gears here. We do have some announcements. We have announcements aplenty tonight. Now, if you are doing some Christmas shopping and you'd like to get a shirt, a mug, a hoodie, a sticker, a magnet with your favorite logos, click the link in the description, and that's a great place to do some Christmas shopping for your vintage snowmobile lover friends. Likewise, another wonderful Christmas gift is, if you were watching the podcast last season, you saw that I brought a lot of people on here live for interviews. I have a 2 DVD set with all of those interviews, every last one of them. And there's also a bonus DVD. If you order soon, as soon as those run out, that's going to be it. But if you order quickly, clicking the link in the description, you'll get a free bonus CD. So you'll actually get 3 CDs, not CDs, I'm sorry, DVDs. And what else have we got for announcements? I was messaging earlier with Mike Mahar. You've seen him on this program several times. He shared with me the schedule for Central Minnesota pond racing. So if you were in the Midwest and thinking about taking some of that in, these are the dates and locations so you can know where to go and when. We also have the first weekend in January. This is one of my very favorite shows. There's a vintage snowmobile rally in central Vermont. It's on Lowry Road in Washington, Vermont, Saturday, January the 8th. It's just a little over a month away. This is a wonderful, wonderful show. And so wonderful, in fact, that what I'm going to do to help promote it a little later in the program is I'm going to play some videos that I've done doing interviews with people previous years at that show. And what else have I got for announcements? We've got... Also, I was in touch earlier. I was messaging earlier today with Joe Pack. This is his 1979 Yamaha SRX 440. He's got a few different shots of it he sent to me. And I always enjoy seeing these kind of things. So if you want to send me images or videos or anything like that, I'm going to put up an email address. This is where you're going to send it. That is not where you're going to send it. That's my website. You're welcome to go there and check that out. But this is the email address. If you have images or videos, or if you want to talk to me about something you'd like to send me or talk about on the podcast, please send it there. And I actually owe a lot of people an apology. I am way behind in looking at the emails that people sent to my Facebook page. If you send it to me on Facebook Messenger to the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers Facebook page, I owe a lot of people an apology because I've got a backlog of emails I have not looked at yet, and I'm very sorry about that. Over the coming weeks here, I plan to get to those and the questions and things that they're asking or sharing with me. I'm going to start sharing them here on the podcast. So I want to make sure I've taken care of all my announcements. I'm just looking at the interface here to make sure I got them all. Looks like I did. What do we have next? You heard me mention a moment ago about the pardon me, about the Washington, Vermont Vintage Snowmobile Rally. This is put on by the Snow Flyers Snowmobile Club. Let's take a look at some footage from 2019 at that show. The people are getting set up. Exhibitors are unloading things from their trailers, and this truck pulls up. This big truck with an enormous trailer pulls up, and everyone's gathering around thinking, well, he's got a whole bunch of sleds in there. Well, he only had one sled in there, and it was massive. It was a 1948 Bombardier snow coach. Let's take a look.
Yeah, my name's Dave Fushi, and this is a 1948 Bombardier B12 snow coach. So it was built in Valcourt, Quebec, right across the border by Bombardier. He's the one that started Skidoo snowmobiles. So these were his earliest vehicles. These are still used today in Yellowstone National Park to transport people in and out of the park. So basically built from, everything back then was maple and birch, because that was the native woods that were up there. So as a Chrysler Industrial Flathead 6, they were used back in the 40s, tanks, jeeps, all that sort of thing. So has a 3 on the tree transmission, but the transmission is in reverse from what anybody that's used to driving it, 3 on the tree, because the motor's in the rear and it's driving from the front.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The shift pattern is just the opposite.
Sure.
It takes a while to get
Okay,
used
if
to it.
I
So, yeah.
and the engine's way in the back, right?
The engine's in the back. Yeah, you can open up the side door there and take a look. So, this was restored by Rich Hall.
Not the comedian.
No. So, but if you go on his site, antiquesnowmobiles.com, that's what he does, is he restores old snowmobiles for a living.
Wow.
So it took him like a year to do it, because the one that basically I bought, that it was just a template because it was rotted, with his wood, so it was all rotted.
Yeah.
So all he had was just basically the shape to build the new one on it.
Wow. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
That was something to see that roll off the trailer.
Yeah,
It was like, what is that?
For 1948, I mean, it was ingenious. The heating system. If you see, there's a tunnel here in front of the pedals, and then there's a little door in the back. So what happens is it has a system where the radiator pulls the air through, drives it up to the front, and then sucks it back out through that hole. So it's exchanging the air inside the cabin all the time.
Wow.
For heat. I mean, it was pretty ingenious for 1948.
Yeah, it's really innovative.
So, but if you go on and Google Bombardier B12 restoration videos, there's like a 30-minute video that Rich did of redoing this from day one.
Wow, every step of the restoration.
It took him a year. I mean, it's it's a phenomenal video to watch. And he put it all to music. He did an excellent job.
Wow. Well, look for that, yeah.
So, yeah, go on there and take a look at that. It's an awesome video.
Oh, wow. Huh, that's impressive.
Yeah, he did a beautiful job.
Yeah, seriously. And he said it's birch and maple?
Yeah, the framework is maple and all the plywood.
Birch plywood, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that was at the Washington, Vermont Vintage Snowmobile Rally in 2019. I don't know if he's planning to bring that at the next one that's coming up on January 8th, but you never know. And even if he doesn't bring that, there are a whole host of wonderful sleds there to take a look at. Now, I noticed while we were watching that video, another comment came in with details about an upcoming show. John Fuchs is telling us there's a vintage snowmobile show Saturday at the Ephrata Rod and Gun Club, 372 State Highway 67 Ephrata, New York. It's a show and swap with food and beverages, and there's also a place to warm up if your feet start getting cold. So yeah, thank you so much, John, for sharing that with us. That's the kind of stuff we like to see in the comment section. Also, if people have sleds for sale, things wanted, technical questions. I'm not that technical as far as repairing snowmobiles, but there are plenty of people viewing this who are. So if you have a technical question about something, oh, that reminds me, in the announcement section, I forgot. Someone had, okay, Pat Bubnez. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. He's looking for a right rear bogey wheel for a 1985 Polaris. He's wondering if anybody knows where you can find one of those. So if you know of such a part, please post it here in the comments, and I'll ask Pat to monitor the comments here over the next few days, maybe over the next few weeks, because this video lives on social media for quite a while. So new people could be viewing this over the next week or so. And if they're leaving comments, you don't want to miss them, Pat. Maybe check in periodically over the next week to see. And then we've got Alden Banks says they were a workhorse for sure. I think he's talking about the that snow coach. Absolutely. So what have we got next? We've got now, if you watch the first show of the season, the first podcast of the season that I did on October 7th, I did a video of Ray Parenteau's 1973 Rupp Magnum 440. It was a race sled that was a barn find. Now, that video wasn't playing correctly because it was choppy, and I have an issue with any kind of videos that are longer than 5 minutes. They're choppy, and there's a reason for it. I don't want to get into all that, but what I'm going to do is a do-over for Ray because he's a friend of mine. We're gonna break that video up into 2 parts. That way, we're under the 5-minute thing, and not getting into that whole choppiness. So let's take a look at part 1 of his barn find.
Yep, my name is Ray Parenteau, and I live in Derby, Vermont. And this is a recent purchase. What we have here is a 1973 Rupp Magnum 440. I acquired it from a gentleman in Connecticut. It does have some bruises on it, but this is a true barn find. Everything on this sled is as should be. You can see it has the aluminum skis. Correct shocks. The seat is the original seat. Near perfect condition. The only thing that is not original is they converted it to a Mikuni carburetor setup. It should have Tilliston carbs on it, but from what I understand, and I've had this thing running, the Mikuni setup is much or more friendly to tune.
Yeah.
Idle. I had the one Tilliston carburetor. I got a brand new old stock carb, and he said, "Good luck finding the other one." The gentleman I bought it from, and but it's got some kind of cool features this sled has. Now, this was a race-only sled. If you look here, you see the thing. So when you look this thing over, it's cool as hell because it's just so simple. I mean, you've got an engine mounted here. There's no wiring on the thing. No headlight, no taillight. No, this is your wiring right here. You got a coil.
Let me come around this side. This is it for the wiring.
Yep. When I got the thing home, I went to fire it up, and I called the gentleman up. His name's Tim, and I said, am I missing something? Is there a kill switch on this thing? He said, oh, yeah, your tether switch. This is your kill switch right here. He said, the sled was running fine when I parked it. He said, this is your on and off right here.
Really? Just as simple as that?
Yeah, that's your kill switch.
Well, do that again if you would.
It's, I had it, this thing actually screws into that, so you would have this around you.
Oh, yeah, it's a tether, yeah.
I believe it'll pull it out, and I don't know. I'm assuming the cable's supposed to come with you.
Yeah.
And, of course, your tach and your speedo.
Yeah.
So I was talking to one of my other friends about this sled, and he's kind of a rough guy. He's out in Deer River, Minnesota. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, you know what's cool about that sled? He said, look at your throttle. I said, what do you mean? He said, your throttle.
It's
not like this.
It's on the front.
It's not like that.
The fingers instead of the thumb, yeah.
Yeah. And I said to him, I go, yeah, you're right. And he said, yeah, well, that thing was designed to do one thing. Go really fast. You just pull it on it.
Yeah.
And Stinger exhaust. I've had it running. It's loud as hell.
So let's look at part 2.
So I get the thing, and the gentleman told me, he said, it runs. He said, I had it running. I had it idling. He said, you're going to want to do some work with the throttle because the way the throttle is set up, you can't open those Makunis all the way. So I said, okay, that's fine. But he said, I rode it around my yard. He said, he was into the whole thing about it being a barn find, and that everything as is was correct. So I said to him, I go, well, I don't want to, obviously I bought the thing. I said, I'm gonna make it look like new again. That'll be my attitude here. I haven't got into it yet. I wanted to hear it run. So I get it home and I finally do. I got spark. I figured out the switch, and I sprayed some spray in the thing, and okay, it runs. But why won't it pick up? It's not sucking up. So I pull the hoses off there, and I'm blowing through. I'm going, there's a blockage. Well, that old gas, there was no gas. I sucked the gas out of the tank, and it was, it's got an odor to it, and it's discolored. I said, well, that's funny, it's not in hard form. But right at the bottom of the tank, right in your fittings right there, it literally was like cheese in there.
Oh, wow.
So I pulled the fittings out, and I literally had to clean them out, and it was hard resin almost. So anyway, clean the tank, put that in. I had the thing running, drain the gas back out of it. So I'll be tearing into this thing fairly soon. I don't really expect it to take very long to take it apart, but I want to polish the tunnel. I've got some new panels ordered and another hood. I don't know. Sometimes you wonder if it's sacrilegious to, okay, is it better off? This is the way it was, but I like my stuff to look shiny. I don't know what to say about it, but
yeah, for sure.
So, but and this is something that obviously you're not going to ride this thing on a trail.
No, this is a showpiece.
This thing was a factory race sled. This is something you go to a show, you show it off, you fire it up, put it on a stand, rev it up, let people plug their ears, and it's. I believe in the day there was a gentleman by the name of Gene Bloom. That would have been Mickey Rupp's team driver, and he had. I've seen like 4 configurations of this sled, and Bill Stull restored one of these to replicate one of Gene's sleds.
Sure, I know Bill.
And now, actually, that's where the panels are coming from.
Oh yeah, nice.
Bill, Bill's helped me out with a lot of my other projects too, and he is the guy that knows.
He is.
If you got some questions, you can shoot him a message and say, Bill, what about this? I was very concerned when I got the thing about those carburetors. I said, if you want something to be time correct, do you want the Tillotons on there? Which a guy could have, but he said there were a lot of those that got converted over to the Makunis just because it's such a smoother running thing. It's so much friendlier to operate with those. So
yeah,
I believe that'll be the way I go. So, but I enjoy reading this decal. I don't know if you noticed that decal right there.
I did not. Let's take a look.
That pretty much sums up the whole thing about this sled.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, it's right there in front of you. So when you come out and you look at it and you say, "Okay, I guess I know what this is all about." Obviously, you're not doing anything with it except, from what I understand, 90 to 100 horsepower is what this thing could have produced.
Wow.
And that seems like a lot, but that's what I read. So whether that's correct or not, I don't really know. But
that would make this thing move, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's all aluminum. I mean, everything's aluminum. It's not very heavy. I loaded it by myself. From a ramp, I'm going, man, this thing doesn't weigh very much. And, obviously I don't want to break anything, so there's no real bumper on it, so you can't really just muckle onto the thing, but it's I'm sure it'd give a good ride.
Yeah.
Sure. So.
Cool deal.
Yeah, it'll I'm looking forward to having it. My wife says to me, what do you have this thing for anyway? What do you do with that? I said, oh, that's eye candy.
Cool. Yeah, that was Ray Parenteau from Derby, Vermont. And the nice thing is he lives just 15, 20 minutes away from me, and I need to be in touch with him and to see how he's making out with that restoration project. I ran into him at a show, the Bethlehem show, and I think it was the second weekend in October in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, and he'd mentioned he'd been working on it, and I'd like to see how that's coming along, and maybe go up there for another visit after the holidays for an update. And I'm sure you guys would enjoy that just as much as I do. We're going to take one more comment, and we're going to take a look at the last video. We've got Alden Banks. We already did that one. Alden Banks again. What kind of motor? I think on the that Rupp, I think it was a 440, and I don't know Rupps enough to know. I'm afraid I can't answer that question. I apologize, but if you replay that, there's probably some detail there. But we've got one last clip for you. Let me do the graphic first. Item number 6. This ran into a gentleman named Nathan. He had his father's 1978 Polaris TX340, and this was at the 2020 Washington, Vermont Vintage Snowmobile Rally. Let me pop that graphic again, because if you were in Central Vermont first weekend in January the 8th, love it if you could join us. That is a really fun show. That's one of my favorite shows, that Washington, Vermont show. It's right in Central Vermont, not far from the state capitol. I guarantee you, if you show up for that, you will not regret it. So, without further ado, let's play another video, an interview that I did at the 2020 Washington show.
My name's Nathan. This is a 78 Polaris TX. My grandfather was actually a Polaris dealer and a bunch of other oddball brands in the 60s and early 70s in Hardwick, Vermont. And this is my father's sled, and he, of course, was all around those sleds growing up at the dealership. And grandfather got out of it around 75, and this was kind of the sled, the big boy sled that he never got to be around, never got to test. So when we found one a couple years ago, he had to go have it, and I actually got the finder's fee for it. So
nice.
That was good. So, yeah.
Excellent. And your dad was mentioned, and you can start this by turning the clutch.
I have before. I can try.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to see that. This is your dad here, right?
Yes.
I should probably be on this side then, huh?
Grab them notches right there.
Wow, that's cool.
Easy.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, that was fun. You meet the nicest people at these vintage snowmobile shows, and the Washington show is no exception. A lot of really cool people that show up for that, both the exhibitors and the people that are there to view. Now, we've got a few last comments before we finish. Doug Reinstra, Taihatsu. I'm not sure I understand what that means. Armin Buto, he's a Rupp guy. I bet he... Oh, okay, he's answering that question, and he's answering my question I had too. He's saying that Ray Parenteau sent him a photograph of the finished sled. It came out super. The motor in that Magnum was a Kohler free air. And Armin Buto has also got a really nice collection of Rupps. I've done interviews with him in the past at shows, and he's got some really nice stuff. Definitely a Rupp guy. He likes the other brands too, but he is a Rupp guy for sure, as is Ray Parenteau. And that Rupp we were looking at with Ray, that was just one of about a half a dozen really nice Rupps that he has. I've run some of the videos of those other sleds on previous episodes, and I'll do some of those sleds on future episodes as well. And the next time I go up there to film, hopefully to see how that sled came out, we'll do some more video with him. He's got some great sleds, and he's really good at talking them up, really informative and interesting, and just a really cool guy to hang out with. So I think that's all we've got for you tonight. Let me switch screens here. I thank you so much for joining us. I hope you decide to join us here each and every week, every Thursday night. I always have something in this time slot. Over the holidays, over the week of Christmas and New Year's, I'll have a rerun. But other than that, unless I'm really sick or something's gone really wrong, my goal is to be on here live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, all the way through the month of March. And then from April through September, I do reruns and come back live again next October. And I hope you will join us for all of that. So that is it for now. Thank you for viewing, and we'll catch you on the other side. Excuse me, my voice is running out of steam. Let's take a look at this word from our friends over at Mad Ramps. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. Catch you guys on the other side.
It's the ultimate combination of simplicity and ingenuity. The newest way to load, unload, and transport your ATV or UTV. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Made in the USA and engineered for strength and durability. Maneuver through tight places and over rugged terrain with plenty of ground clearance. No licensing, no ongoing maintenance costs, and no storage hassles like trailers. Won't slip or move like conventional ramps. Free up more cargo space in the bed of your truck. Securely connects to your truck's receiver hitch. easily extends for safe loading and unloading, seamlessly retracts for highway and off-road travel. DOT approved in all 50 states and Canada. Quickly disconnects in under a minute. A unique space-saving storage system. The MadRamp's Pivoting Ramp System. Go farther. Go faster. Go safer.
When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs.